Welcome to the bold analysis. I explained to you earlier that I was paying attention to the Tuesday protest today so that I can find an answer that the combative edge, enough is enough campaign slogan that President Ruto launched in Bomet over the weekend, was it going to scare away the protest? Was it going to subdue the protest? That's number one. Number two, what exactly was the state going to do different that they have not been doing after since the protest started a month ago? So there was every reason to follow and find out that. And to the end of it, I can explain to you that there is every reason for President's handlers to, I seem to see that they've reached a plateau. Because even despite of the enough is enough, I'm going to hit you head on, people are still coming out in their numbers to protest, or rather to show their dissatisfaction. And I think today, the tactic that the protesters took, is one that caught police off guard. They were outwitted and outnumbered and actually, de-strategized. You can de-strategize someone, where someone puts a strategy, then you de-strategize the strategy. So the police were caught off guard. The two things that happened, and I want us to look at how exactly transpired, but maybe just before I get into it, this is the Enough is Enough campaign that was done by Didmas Baraza Waluke after the president launched it. They were really warning Gen Zs that you will find yourself in city mortuary, and so you should not dare protest.
President Ruto ameongea jana kama President and Commander in Chief. Na hiyo ndiye imekuza roho yangu mimi. Kuonya watu ambao wamejificha kwa Gen Z ama vijana wetu wale wanafanya vitu ambaye nataka kuharibu nchi ya Kenya. Nchi hii haina spare part. Na President, tunakushukuru kwa vile umeongea kitu ambaye sisi wengi tulikuwa tunataka uongee hivyo, utoe komandi namna hiyo. Walitaka rais afunje cabinet, rais akafunja hiyo. Walitaka finance bill, president asiascend on it, president aka give in, akawacha kusign. Demands zote zile walitaka, president ali give in. Na sasa president ameongea jana kuambia kwamba enough is enough, na ni kweli enough is enough. Na sisi kama wanasiasa wabunge, especially those who voted yes,
I have decided to make this address to our young people of our nation. Tomorrow morning, you have the powers to choose what you will do from among two important things. One is that you may choose to stay at home, go about your business. The consequence of it will be that you will live to actualize or realize your dreams. Maybe get a good job in the future so that you can be able to assist your parents and your siblings. The second choice that you can choose from is to decide to attempt to occupy JKIA or any other restricted places as communicated by the police. The consequence of the latter is that at least I can guarantee you by end of day, you will occupy one of the government buildings. You can occupy police cells. You can find yourself in a hospital, or you find yourself lying in a mortuary. Or maybe in one instance, you can be in the police cells, later on the hospital, and later on the mortuary. The choice belongs to you. Choices have consequences. There is nothing that I can do to influence your decision. The power is in your hand. You decide where you want to be at the end of day tomorrow evening. As your de facto leader, I have done my part. I have a civic duty as a young leader of our country, as a de facto leader of the Gen Z and millennials, to advise my members accordingly. So even before you sleep, have a moment and listen to this message. Thank you. God bless you, and good night.
So, this is the battalion. Enough is enough. I have given you time. I have given everyone time to say whatever he wants to say. So, that was a strong statement. And when I was analyzing it, I said one thing could have been a fear strategy, which is a strategy the state can sometimes use. But the events of the day were very interesting. In fact, if you ask me, the government protested against itself. Those who are protesting is actually the government. It's interesting because after 2 days of hyping Occupy JKIA, I analyzed to you that Occupy JKIA was a very critical campaign for government, because the JKIA already is facing some ban from Europe. Kenya Airways is facing some ban from Europe, and its safety has been a matter of a global concern. So they said it's one of the protected areas, even though some lawyers are arguing it's not. So the strategy to say we are going to occupy Parliament, we are going to occupy JKIA, I analyzed yesterday and I was asking you guys that why is that a narrative to go to occupy JKIA if the complaint is about the CSS that Ruto has recycled? Why not the officers of those CSS? But I think I found the answer. So today, I think government dispatched all the police officers and the military personnel to JKIA. Look these snippets here. Government deployed military very early. They were actually converging around Nyayo Stadium, so that they can make their way to protect JKIA. And that is where all the strategy were. But something was very interesting. Despite of that military presence, people were actually mobilizing. So they employed a strategy. And I still don't get how a government with all the infrastructure and all the resources and the police and the security personnel at their disposal would organize for protests so that people can protest against protests. It was a strategy they employed because they wanted, there is a strategy to try to show that not everyone is supporting the protest, which is of course true maybe. And so they sent these young people, they sent this group of boda riders. They fueled their cars around Haile Selassie roundabout, and then they headed direct to town. As you can see here, they were chanting in support of the Kenya Kwanza administration, saying Ruto should be supported and should be given time. So this was mobilized by the government side. These were goons. Let me not call them goons. These were Kenyans, that were also mobilized, their borders fueled, maybe given a stipend to drive to town. And this video emerged where allegedly they were receiving some bribes. Look at this video. Now that video, there is that black Land Rover that was driving town, and you can see he was giving them some cash. You would ask, even who is this Kenyan that would risk his Land Cruiser, and the vehicle in the caliber of a Land Cruiser is not a vehicle for any other villager here, that would risk his vehicle to drive his vehicle to CBD on a day when there are protests. That CBD was actually deserted. So government mobilized these people to go and protest in support of the Ruto administration. But it turned out to be, it backfired. Some of these people that went to town became goons, or actually were goons, or maybe their protest was infiltrated by goons. And those goons started mugging and harassing the other people that were in town. And Karanja was asking Adams Bunge about this, why they were there.
Have you heard about the group that is on motorbikes snatching mobile phones? Is it something you're working on?
This is a CBD team.
Yeah.
We've said we don't want people who are not from CBD.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were claims that the people on motorbikes were, and there are claims that the police are protecting goons.
We are protecting goons. Where are the goons?
There were people on motorbikes. There were people on motorbikes.
Where are they?
There were people on motorbikes who were also snatching mobile phones.
So that is what happened. They turned goons, they started mugging and harassing others, snatching phones, and that is why the animosity now started. The clash started between those pro-government protesters and anti-government protesters, and anti-government protesters overwhelmed the pro-government team, and one motorbike was actually banned, and some few even beaten up in town. So this is part of what had transpired. And remember, I think, look at these other videos here. These other videos is taken around pipeline. So if you think people are just in town, sometimes people say in town, these are people that just went to run their businesses and then they end up in protest. But this is pipeline. A group of youths were trying to make their way to JKIA. And so they were blocked and engaged in altercation with the police. So you can see that people turned out in their numbers to protest. Despite of the president warning them and telling them that you guys, if you come to the street, you will meet me head on. That seems not to haijaingia bado. People are still brave enough and saying, we will come and protest, even if the president is saying that we are going to meet him head on. So, you know, I'm saying it's there is a tactic that worked here. And whether it was coincidence or choreographed, I may not be sure, but it played out Someone, I was just discussing this, doing P analysis. One of our subscribers here, Mr. Wanjira, who was saying that it was just the convergence of the spirit. William Ruto dispatched police with a very narrow understanding that every protest was going to be JKIA and everyone is going to JKIA. But the other end roads heading to town were not blocked. And number two, because people who are doing business and who go to work in town now understood that, you know what, protests are not in town, they are now heading to JKIA, people came to town. Maybe just locked up in the offices. The businesses were closed. But people came out because they believed that there would be relative calm in town. So Waiyaki Way was accessible to town. Thika Road, there was no mayhem. People would go there. The Ngong Road and the Jogo Road, all the feeder roads to town were not blocked. And before Kenya Kwanza realized, there were already a chunk of Kenyans that were in town. You know what has been the strategy for long has been, because protests are planned, that there will be protests in town, government, police, security apparatus find themselves in a very tight spot, because on one end you want to create a balance, that you want to show an impression that we've maintained security and those who are going on with their business should go on. And so you don't want to interfere with normal activities. You want to ensure there is some normalcy. But on the other end, you cannot know who is coming to protest and who is going for his business activities or who is going to his activities. So what they've been doing is they block and try to have a lot of vigilance on the roads heading to CBD. So at some point, I remember last week, just the other week, I was coming from the other side of Yaya, and so we had to be frisked. And in fact, we were leaving town. We were taking the roundabout to the Nyayo roundabout, and we had to be frisked, but we were leaving town. So there is a lot of vigilance that is happening around that space. So what happened? What the protest? What JKIA? The demerit of heading to JKIA would be that maybe other towns there was relatively calm. They didn't tag along, but the strategy de-strategized the police, and the police found themselves moving around town, trying to figure out where because now already people are in town. And after those pro-government team finished, now protesters came out of their place, their comfort zones, and now started protesting in CBD. And you can see when the Nairobi Police Commander Adamson Bungei appeared in CBD to talk to those who were there, they were telling him and they were chanting, "We are peaceful." So probably if you just look at what happened in town, you will understand what we are talking about. You'll see that I think government were outwitted in this strategy. It really worked out. And the fact that yesterday there were a lot of Twitter, and I think government paid attention to Twitter. The intelligence camped in Twitter, find out, oh, what are they going to do? They're saying they're going to JKIA. Oh, it's JKIA. And so this is about JKIA. But real selves, people were able to sneak to town. Because remember, that is one of the things. That is one of the strategies, to make sure that when there is a protest, the number of people that are going to town are reduced. Now, to President Ruto and the team, their worry should be on the fact that Ruto employed a combative strategy. Ruto threatened, I think. He threatened the young people that have been going to the street to protest that you've had your day. I've given everyone time to say what he wants to say. I have availed myself for the X to hear what you want to say, and enough is enough. And a cohort of some UDA politicians boarded that vehicle of enough is enough and went to the social media handles talking about enough is enough. Of course, to be seen as supporting the president. But William Ruto's handlers, or rather the intelligence team, would really get back to they'll scratch their head and say, mbona rais amewatisha? Yeye mwenyewe amewatisha. You know, he re-energized the threat. But these people are still out. It should worry. It should worry Kenya Kwanza. But I want to help them. Maybe that's why I'm here. I want to help them a bit. The government is disorganized to tell their side of the story. Too disorganized to tell their side of the story. And I want to give an example. On Friday, President Ruto met bloggers. Yes, some of our friends. And after meeting bloggers, they left State House now, went to Mukuru, where the affordable housing is going on. They were told to take some videos and pictures so that they come and tell the country about affordable housing, about how affordable housing. And the president also, there was also another team in Homa Bay. But not knowing that who are they appealing to? Even if you go and take the video of that house in Mukuru, who are you appealing to? Because people are not seeing jobs there. The house maybe are already complete. So those who you are appealing to are those who can afford to purchase those houses. Those are not the group. That is not the group in the streets. And they've completely failed. Dennis Itumbi is quiet. The president has been complaining about the media. In fact, today, if you're keen, realize that media slowed down on their coverage after that president's call. Media slowed down. But even despite of that slowing down, note that things really changed. Musalia Mudavadi is confirming that there is nothing like sale of JKIA.
Let me discount immediately that the airport, Jomo Kenyatta Airport, is not on sale. This is a public asset. It is a strategic asset. And if it was going to be sold, you can only do it after a full public process that Parliament endorses. So anybody who is giving the impression that the airport, Jomo Kenyatta Airport, has been sold is not being factual. It is not true. What we need to appreciate is that we will need to modernize our airport. We need a new terminal. You remember there was a greenfield terminal, but it never took off. The contractual engagement had its challenges. There was litigation. It stalled. Going forward, the Kenya Airports Authority must look at its investment program very, very carefully. Make sure that everything is transparent so that during the expansion process of the second terminal, if it is under PPP arrangement, and let it be done properly, thoroughly, through the legal process, so that everybody knows what is going on. But I want to assure Kenyans that the Kenya Airports Authority is not up for sale. The other thing that I want to mention to Kenyans is that one of our long-term strategies is to create Nairobi as a logistical hub. And we are talking even with the United Nations offices in Nairobi, so that apart from...
But this document or this deal about PPP on upgrading of JKIA has never found itself in Parliament. Not in Parliament, not even in Senate. I have not had parliamentarians debating the details of the deal between the Indian tycoons to upgrade the JKIA. So you see, they're so inconsistent, and Musalia Mudavadi was trying to put it, but you cannot save the situation. That inconsistency in telling their side of the story is costing them a lot. I keep on saying, even on this protest, there are two narratives. Uhuru Kenyatta and I don't know so and so are sponsoring. Another narrative, Ford Foundation are sponsoring some NGOs around it. And you know, people don't believe their side of the story. Number two, immediately Ruto appointed the cabinet, dissolved the cabinet. There was a chance to redeem himself. But appointing, dissolving, then reappointing was understood and was seen as dishonesty. So he's already missed it. I agree with what David Oching was saying in Citizen. Is it a birthright? Are there people that there must just be CSs? Don't they have life outside being a CS? Or can Ruto run government without them being a CSS? The cabinet recycling dishonesty really punctured the credibility of president to put up his point. The other third aspect is, I think Ruto lost his UDA charisma, his UDA power. But the UDA power is, there are people that Rod is a UDA party leader, is our president, his loyalty. That loyalty went down. And you can see even some members of the clergy have been doing the Lord's work. They've been telling the president, this you are getting wrong, this you are getting wrong. Now, the last, I think, despite of an isolative strategy, there has been a strategy to try to isolate Gen Z as some group of anarchists. No, this anarchy thing is to believe that there's some rogue few elements who are anarchists. And so the rest of the population should disassociate with them. Despite of that strategy, the protests are getting backing from the rest of the population. If you do your research and look at social media, and even look at these videos, how many people are supporting and how many people are opposing? I think if you ask me, the percentage of those supporting could be in the tune of 80 and those opposing could be 10. So you see, even, and you can see, when people went to town and they were mobilized to go and say they're against the protest, they could not protest there. They did not get the backing. Imagine if they would have gone there with their motorbikes, then the rest of Kenyans now join them, say we want peace. Maybe there will be no protest in town, but that, their activity lasted for less than 30 minutes, and they were already out of town. They were outnumbered and chased out of town. So that is already an indication that things are not easy, and I think the president's team must go back to the drawing board. Hiyo uoga ni kama hawa watu wajanunua. Thank you.